This is the split squat. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you a bunch of different variations, and then we're gonna go into the specifics of the split squat movement, as well as some of the issues that a lot of people see with them and what to do to address them. So as far as stance-wise, to find my stance, I'll actually start on the ground, because that way I know this is how far I want my feet to be apart. And then when I'm at the top here, this is a normal body weight split squat. If I want to challenge that a little bit more, I'm going to challenge my core. I'm going to start with one dumbbell on the same side as the top leg. If I want to challenge myself a bit more, I'm going to put it on the opposite side, and that'll also make it a bit harder to balance, but it's going to work that top leg a bit more. Now with either of these variations, I can make it a bit harder by putting the weight a bit higher, making my center of gravity a bit higher, and challenge myself further. Now the other thing I can do is grab two dumbbells, holding it by my side. Or holding it up top. All right, so some of the main technique pointers with the split squat is making sure I have a good stance or I'm not too far. If I am too far, I can arch my back too much, and I'll actually put quite a bit of pressure on some of the ligaments in the front of my hip. So if I'm gonna do this exercise, I actually wanna be in the position that I'm in when I'm doing my half kneeling hip flexor stretching. So it'll be a bit shorter than you would normally think. And that knee is gonna go straight down underneath you. Before I start the exercise, I'm gonna use my bracing technique to get those abs firing and to get that back leg glute turned on so that pelvis is not pushing forward. Okay, and that'll help keep me upright as I drop down. Okay, keep in mind this exercise is an exercise for both legs. It will feel different on each leg as you do it. However, you are working both legs. Sometimes you'll feel quite a bit of a burn in that quad here. You will, and ideally on the front leg, you'll feel your butt, your quad, and possibly hamstring and groin as you're doing it, because you are working a bunch of different muscles. If you feel really tight, a lot of people, we get a lot of questions saying that people have a hard time going down in the split squat. And a lot of times that's due if a pelvis is a bit unstable or forward, that muscle on the front of the thigh gets tight and tends to restrict that movement. So if I want to get better at doing my split squat, I'm going to spend some time working on my abs, my glutes, to be able to get into a more neutral position and take myself down to the bottom. So doing the hip flexor stretching routine that we mentioned earlier is good to get used to that split stance position, as well as the half kneeling exercises. So half kneeling rows, split stance rows, those are also good alternatives to get you hanging out in those positions and lengthening those while also strengthening those other muscles that you need to stabilize that pelvis. Now, if you're starting out with this exercise, it's gonna feel a little bit weird. You will sometimes have a harder time balancing. So if I'm sitting up, you may have a hard time catching yourself. That's normal. It is a challenging exercise, and you are in a narrower stance on more or less one leg. So don't get discouraged from that. Just keep doing it. You'll get used to it over time, and continue to do your split stance exercise, your half kneeling exercises to help get used to those exercises, to help get used to the split squat. Also, if you're having a hard time getting lower, what you could do is lean forward slightly and decrease the range of motion to still allow you to get a similar type of workout without being limited by the limitation of your quad on that back leg. However, you still want to address those things so that you can do the exercise properly. So I would be here, and I'm still trying to keep this glute tight, but I'm not going straight up and down. I'm putting a bit more weight on here. It's almost like I'm doing a deadlift on that front leg.